You cannot connect the dots of your life looking forward. You can only connect the dots of your life looking backwards.
Yeah. I always say inquire to rewire. Pay attention to the people that are in your life, that are supporting you, that are cheering you on when they've got nothing to gain from it, because those are your people. Welcome to the High Vibe Life podcast, where we are obsessed with all things manifestation, neuroscience, personal growth, and quite simply, living a life beyond our wildest dreams. I'm Moira Casava, author, speaker, podcaster, manifestation, and mindset master. Since getting sober 25 years ago, I've helped tens of thousands of women break through and achieve massive levels of wealth, joy, and freedom. Now it's your turn. Let's dig in. All right, you guys, well, welcome back to the show. I have a dear friend on the episode, on the podcast today, for the second time. Welcome back to the show, Justin Prince.
Moira, I am so fired up to be on with you. You're one of my very favorite people to hang out with. And, I think our energy introduces us. We introduce ourselves with our energy, like the way we show up. And you have such an electric energy, such a high vibe as a human. And so it's like I plug into a socket, and I just get some of your vibe. So I always enjoy this time.
Oh, thank you. That means the world to me. I mean, I feel the same way about you. It's so crazy. I mean, we met maybe, I don't even know, 18 months ago, a couple years back. It's somewhere in that time frame. And at the time, I don't even know how we actually got introduced, or we know so many of the same similar people. Like some of my best friends out in Utah have worked with you for decades. People in the industry, were like, hey, do you know her? Hey, do you know him? We're like, no. So we kind of connected. We did a podcast swap a while back, which was really fun, which, like you said, there was like this instant connection, instant kind of like brother, sister, but also I got your back, like love that just was instant. Wild respect for really everything you were walking through in that season, which was really hard. And now here we are. Who would have thunk it? Here we are launching a company together.
Yep. Come on.
In the heck, right?
Unbelievable. It's that is serendipitous. There's a term I talk about, what I call divine rendezvous. There's some of these moments in life where you are meeting people, and this is a divine rendezvous. This is a divine connection. Like, those meetings matter. Yeah. And when I met you a year ago, those meetings mattered, Yeah. And that was a divine rendezvous. We instantly had just kind of that, like, yo, you're my people, kind of connection. And I told you, I was like, if I can ever help you or support you or whatever, we had multiple talks over the year, and then for us now to be launching a company together and going to be a force for good in the world and go affect millions and millions of people's lives in a positive way it's a really special thing. It
really is. It's one of those, you can't make this up. Like, you couldn't have scripted this if we tried to say, what is the wildest, most crazy, amazing thing we could ever do? And what if we did it together? You couldn't make this up. And what I want to go back to is, I want you, obviously, to share your story, kind of what you've walked through in these last few years, or really where you came from even before that. So maybe people that are listening don't know your story, don't know who you are. But what I want to say before you go into that is that, pay attention to the people that support you when they've got nothing to gain, because that was what you and I were able to kind of just have for each other right out of the gate. And, we never knew how this would come about. And that's really important, because you will get into this, but my business fell apart just literally a little over 2 weeks ago, and you were the first phone call I made, not because you had a life raft for me, just because literally you were a friend that I was like, hey, this is my number one call. Like, what do I do? Like, the plane just wrecked. I don't know where to begin. And we got to pay attention to that. Pay attention to the people that are in your life, that are supporting you, that are cheering you on, when they've got nothing to gain from it, because those are your people. And I really appreciate you being that person to me over the last year plus. So will you go into who in the heck is Justin Prince? What's your story, Justin?
Well, look, I have a background where I feel like it would have been voted maybe least likely to succeed. You know, my folks got divorced when I was 12, came from kind of a middle class family. We moved 13 times in the 7 years through the teenage years. I was the oldest at home with my mom. My dad had been married prior, had an older daughter, older son for me, my older sister, older brother. I was my mom's oldest. And, we moved 13 times in the 7 years through the teenage years. I was making pizzas. I was doing construction work, kind of mindless, just kind of hourly jobs. And then I used to work at a mall kiosk, in my early 20s. I tease people, the malls where all of us old people used to go, and the Amazon was a river, we'd hang out at this place called the mall. And I was the guy you tried to avoid eye contact with. I worked at the mall kiosk. And I always had big dreams. I always had big goals. I always had big work ethic. It's so interesting where I always felt like, even as a little kid, I felt like, I didn't know what it was, but I felt like my life mattered, and I felt like I was going to do something in the world, that kind of thing. I was just, I was like, I got this, But I just didn't have any real significant opportunity. Like, in other words, something to really sink your teeth into. Mm-hmm. So I started my first business at 25. And I was working with a direct sales company and a nutrition company. Long story short, became the number 3 earner of this company, national spokesperson. I was on every Barnes & Noble and Borders newsstands in the entrepreneur section. I tell people that, just to show you how long ago this is back when we had Barnes & Noble and Borders, okay? Yes. So don't be too impressed, okay? And one day we were in business, one day we weren't. The company actually got rid of their field, their sales reps. It was a super kind of painful day, painful moment. Relate. And when that happens, you kind of ask yourself all the questions of, do I want to do this again? And you feel like a jaded lover a little bit of like, I will never love again, that kind of thing. But I ultimately, it put me in a kind of a precarious financial situation. I was behind on credit cards, behind on taxes. I moved my pregnant wife and our 2 little babies into the loft of my wife's parents' garage. So I had 2 little kids sleeping in the closet, my wife in this little makeshift little beds that we made for them with some blankets and pillows. And my wife and I slept in this little loft area. I went and picked up 2 part-time jobs. So I went from, Barnes & Noble entrepreneur section to I worked all weekday at a sales job on the weekdays, and then a one on the weekends. And I was kissing those little babies when they were asleep in the closet in the morning, because I'd leave early, and I'd kiss them at night when I got home, when they were asleep, because I was working late. And I was just like, what is happening with my life? I'm just grinding here. I was still chasing the dream to be free, or chasing the dream to be successful. I was like, is this ever even going to happen for me? And my guess is many of you listening have asked yourself those same questions. Like, I know it's possible for Moira. I know it's possible for other people. Is it actually possible for our family or for me to pull this thing off, And I remember listening to an audio series by Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn, for those of you that don't know that name, he's Tony Robbins' original mentor. Yeah. And he had all these great speakers at a weekend seminar. And at the very end, he stands up on the stage and he says, we now have enough testimonials and personal experiences to conclude that it's possible to create and to design an extraordinary life. And I remember thinking, I knew it was possible for everyone else. I just didn't know if it was going to be possible for me. Right. So long story short, I figured that business out. I was speaking, all over the world. I was speaking at the convention for 6,000 people. Spoke all throughout the former Soviet Union, in Moscow and Omsk, Russia, and Almaty, Kazakhstan. I was like 29. At 30, I sold that business, and I was kind of left that industry. I got into private equity consulting. At 32, this is about 12 years ago, I came into a company that was 25 years old. It was 8 years in a row of double-digit decline in revenue. So in other words, going the wrong direction really fast. And I came in as part of a transformation team to see if we could transform this kind of old, dying company. And in the process, we just kind of tore it out of the floorboards and rebuilt. It was almost like the 2 hardest things to do in a business are a turnaround and a startup, and we did both at the exact same time. Wow. And in that process, we ended up creating a company that I remember thinking, I was like, dude, this is like $1 billion idea. Like, let's go do this thing. And so I left being a consultant, went into the field to help drive sales. And, it wasn't $1 billion idea. It was like a $2.5 billion idea. It was bigger than I thought. We had millions and millions and millions of customers all over the world and built a really significant business. And so check this out. We were owned by a private equity firm. And we'd had about 18 months of softening revenue. And long story short, when you look like an expense on a spreadsheet, on an Excel spreadsheet when you're in sales. My income had had been cut in half from its peak, which it was still a very significant, very meaningful income. You know, it was 11 years worth of your career and work, but it was down from its peak. So none of us want to be down by half, but it was still very, significant number. Well, it was a significant enough number that on a spreadsheet, they're like, yeah, just get rid of that guy. So I landed in New York for fall break a year ago. No, I get an email from a law firm saying you're terminated, and to validate it or to justify it, they just drug me through the public square. Just like it was like on Tuesday you're beloved, on Wednesday you were like a villain. I was like, guys, what is happening?
Wow.
And you and I met I remember it so well because I remember being on your podcast very shortly after.
Yeah.
If you guys can remember, if you could imagine this, you just lost your entire business. You're getting your reputation just completely maligned. You feel like it was the most bizarre, crazy, strange situation I've ever been through in my life. It was, lost your entire income. It was just so painful your entire community was gone. You're like, what just happened,
Yeah, people are turning on you.
People are turning on you, totally betrayed by some of your what you thought were some of your closest friends. It was just gut-wrenching. And when you and I were on, it was one of those things where I was like I literally was like, you're asking yourself those questions of like, how strong am I? Because I had all these podcasts to be on and different, still things happening in your life. So you're trying to show up with a smile, trying to show up with good energy, trying to compartmentalize it. But I could have burst into tears, in the same time. And anyway, I look back now and it's just one of those amazing things. It's like life is happening for you, not to you. It doesn't feel like it's happening, for you when it's happening, but it is happening for you, not to you. Mm-hmm. And it introduced me to wonderful people like yourself, and it really strengthened my shoulders. Like your mental and emotional resilience gets stronger. And so here we are, literally a year later. At the time of this recording, a year and 4 days later since that happened.
Gosh.
And we're launching a company that we think literally has a chance to like change not only change our industry but really change the world. And all that never would have happened, and you and I would not be partnering, and all this stuff if that all wouldn't have happened. So it's just so interesting how it happens, how it all kind of comes together.
It's incredible to sit here and look at that, because it's like, I mean, yours was, I think, 1,000 times worse than mine, honestly, because, I got my paycheck went away instantaneously. Well, not instantaneously, I will say that. There's, there was a little bit of a bridge, but I got that same notice. But I got it with the entire network, so it doesn't feel so personal. The personal part of yours, I can't imagine what you walk through. But even yesterday, I was driving home and I was driving over the bridge that goes out to the island that we live on. And I was like, it was just one of those moments where it's been 2.5 weeks for me since my life radically got flipped upside down. And yesterday was the first day that I really felt it, that I really was not okay. And I just had to tell myself in that moment that pain that I was feeling is grit, it's perseverance, it's resiliency, it's the armor that's going to take me to the next place, right? And so you said, I love the expression, everything's happening for us instead of to us. I always say, how is this a gift? How is this a gift? How is this a gift? And, when I got that call 2.5 weeks ago, that was the first thing I grabbed onto. Like, I really was like immediately like awesome, like not awesome, but like God's got something awesome in store. Can't wait to see, and very expectant of like what is going to come in this place. And I almost grabbed onto that like a life raft so desperately that I just pushed down all the negative emotion and all the fear.
Pain. Yeah. Yep.
And it started bubbling up yesterday, but immediately it was like, it's always a gift. Like every low, and I just want the audience to hear this, like no matter how hard it is right now, that is going to build you. That is the thing that's going to give you the character traits, the resiliency, whatever you need to do the next thing you're called to in this life. And I mean, it's the old adage of like, well, one door has to close and for another to open. It really does. And the other thing that you said that I really saw from kind of a little bit outside looking in for the first time, and I want the audience to hear this too, is that you knew you were a dreamer. You knew that you were like a hard worker. And I think those are the two biggest things you need to be successful. That is so defining of you, of who you are and who you were even as a kid. It's very defining of me. I love when you talk about not going to college because, addiction like completely derailed everything for me. And, I didn't go down that Ivy League path that I was supposed to. And it's just fun for me to see the gritty hard workers that have big dreams make it. But I want people to know that you need the opportunity, right? Like opportunity is the missing ingredient so often. It's not something that's missing within you. Sometimes it's the opportunity that comes with the mentor, right? That's going to guide you. I can remember being a solopreneur. I had multiple businesses. I bought and sold and, successful on some level, multi-six-figure level. I can remember all those years just being like, gosh, I just want somebody that's like brilliant to like guide me. I'll do whatever they tell me to do, like anything. But I was out there doing it all alone because I couldn't work for other people. We're also cut from that cloth. And so when I all of a sudden stepped into an opportunity 10 years ago with mentors and people that were willing to pour into me, coupled with a very teachable, coachable spirit, like my success just skyrocketed overnight. And I don't say that to, pat myself on the back. I say that because so often it's just an opportunity. It's meeting one person. It's one phone call. It's one moment that can change the course of your entire life. And I think when we live in the expectancy of that and the excitement of that, that's when we bump into it, right?
Moira, I love what you just said. So first of all, I love that you're willing to just share with us that as strong, first of all, as personally developed as you are and as strong as you are, and you hear tragic news that your entire business is toasted and you get expectant, like that is so, like, what an incredible, like, testimony of who you are and on the work that you've done on yourself. And by the way, most importantly, like what's possible for all of us, like the work that we can do and the person we can all become. But then I also love that it hits you too, just like it hits all of us, the pain of it and the loss of it and the fear of it and the discouragement of it, that like, just like it hits all of us. Mm-hmm. But then to hear you, like how you transfer this, I want to share a couple of thoughts. If you're in those seasons, my friends, and by the way, if you're not in that season now, you know how it is. It's probably coming up here soon. Like it's just how life works. If it's not one thing, it's another. So you're going to go through these. I want to walk you through a couple thoughts of like almost like steps, strategies, like to get you through it, or perspectives, or mindsets, or ways to think through this stuff. So the good timber doesn't grow with ease. The stronger the winds, the stronger the trees. It's like. It's like this stuff is strengthening you, because if it doesn't crush you, it will strengthen your shoulders. And so one strategy I want to encourage you to think about is to convert the hurt. So in other words, you convert all the pain and the fear and the doubt and the uncertainty and the negative things people are saying about you and just all that stuff. You convert it from pain into fuel. Yes. So instead of letting it crush and destroy your future, it actually drives your future. It drives your dreams. It like almost guarantees, like it like fills you up with fuel. Now you'll notice in those early days, my friends, that some of that fuel feels like, it almost will feel like revenge, or it will feel like vengeance, or it'll feel like I'll show you, and you can almost grit your teeth and be. I don't think that that's bad to run on that kind of stuff. Those just almost, let's call it negative emotions, vengeance or revenge but here's what you want to know. You won't build your whole life on revenge. Right. You'll build your life on dreams and goals and vision and purpose. That's the stuff that will wake you up long term. Revenge and vengeance and I'll show you, that will only wake you up for like a couple little short times. Like it's like gunpowder, burns super hot, super fast. You can't use it forever.
It's like a fire starter log.
Fire starter. That's right. Tom Brady was, the last pick in the NFL draft. He was a nobody, barely made the team. Yeah. Finally got a shot and went on to win 7 championships and became the GOAT, right? He's, by the way, threw more touchdowns against every single team. He holds the record for the amount of touchdowns thrown against every team in the NFL. So no one's thrown more touchdowns per every team than him. So he got his revenge. He got his vengeance. Yeah. But guess what? Man, after you win the first title and the second title and the third title, at some point, there's almost like, think of it like almost like a ladder. This is a way to kind of think about it for like long term. Think about it this way. I'm going to pull this up just to kind of show you guys this. You might start with like fear. Yeah. Where you felt some of that even yesterday, that like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Okay, I got this, the fear. Then you might be motivated by like money or by revenge or by competitiveness. Like I'm going to be the best. Or maybe you start getting motivated by like learning new skills
Yeah.
Or you start getting motivated by personal development. Like you're like loving this journey you're on, or maybe self-mastery. You can be like, man, I just want to be the very best in the world at this. Maybe you start being motivated by gratitude. I want to give back, serve. I feel so much gratitude in my heart. And then maybe you get to a point like, I want to make a difference in the world. My friends, the pinnacle of all this is love.
Yeah.
Love's the ultimate motivator. Like because you'll love it when you serve out of love, and you serve out of, in other words, you work yourself up that ladder or spectrum. When you serve out of love, even when you're making a ton of cash, you still serve. Why? Because you love people.
Right.
Even when it's a really, really, really hard time, you still do what you do. Why? Because you love people. And as I think through like kind of what this has pulled me through this last year, at the end of the day, it was that I felt a calling on my life to serve people.
Yes.
At the end of the day. And I was like, you know what? I'm not just going to sit at my house and watch investments. Like right. I would not be serving humanity and adding value to people. And so my question to all of us listening is like, can you tap into your love today? Like your love for your kids, your love for your spouse, your love for your God, your love to serve other people, your love for your community. Like tap into love. That will be actually the ultimate motivation. So you can convert the hurt from pain to fuel. Then you can tap into love, this resource of this like endless supply of saying, I'm not just going to do it to get back at my brother-in-law. I'm not just going to do it because that person said you're going to fail. I'm not going to do it just because I need to make money. I'm not just going to do it purely out of fear. I'm going to do it because I want to go. I love adding value and serving people.
Yes.
And if you can tap into that, that will be long-term fuel. Now, again, if you want to use the fire starter, I'm cool. Like a little bit of fire, I'm good. A little bit of revenge or vengeance, a little bit of like, you know what, I'll show you. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But just know that will not burn forever. You know, that burns short-term and burns super hot.
I love this. Oh my gosh. So this is a lot of what I teach when I teach people like how to craft their vision. That like, you know, the trip to Bali is like going to motivate me some days. Like few and far between, but like some days I'm like, I need to escape my life. I hate my life. I'm going to Bali. I'm going to work my butt off to get that trip, right? Mm-hmm. But that's like, you know, a day here or there really when times are kind of tough and I'm like feeling frustrated or in those negative emotions. But most days, like the day in and day out, people are always like, how do you just show up all the time? You just keep showing up. You just keep showing up. Like you really never falter. You're just always there. And I'm like, because it's not about me. Like my greater vision is how I'm going to change other people's lives, that there are people out there depending on me to show up because me showing up is going to be me able to throw them a life raft, right? An opportunity, whatever it is, whatever I'm doing for them, whether it's speaking or a workshop or a mastermind, that's what drives me relentlessly. And I say this to women, especially all the time, that we will not be motivated to show up for ourselves, right? We might want to get fit or earn this much money or do all this. And it's like that fades so quickly for women. Mm-hmm. I mean, how often do you probably even see this with your wife? Like we'll give up on ourselves because we're going to put our own selfish needs last and take care of everybody else. But we have to understand that we get to, at least with what we're doing in the world, or try to find something that you can do in the world that serves other people. And the back end is obviously it's going to serve you in some way, but you're leading with that servant heart. And that's what's going to drive you every day. That's what's going to keep you getting out of bed. It is not because I want a purse or a trip or a car. Like maybe in the beginning, the fire starter log, but like been there, done that. That doesn't mean a dang thing. You know, when I lost my business 2.5 weeks ago, my immediate response in the first 24 hours was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to speak, I'm going to write, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then very quickly I was like, wait a second. Like so many people I love, like the ship, it was like the Titanic and they're all drowning in the water.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was like, I need to go save them. And oh my gosh, that is like my best version of me. You know, when I just go to save people from the wreckage, because I will go to any length so much further, so much faster for other people than I would for myself.
Yes, of course.
And that's a beautiful place to be.
Most of us will do things for others we won't even do for ourselves. It's like, you know, think of this is kind of a silly analogy, but if you bumped into someone waiting in line, you bump into mom waiting in line, she'll say, excuse me, you'll say, okay, whatever. You go across the way, mess with our kids, Mama Bear's coming out, right? She'll do things for her kids she wouldn't even do for herself, right?
Absolutely.
And so we all kind of have a little bit of that in us, where we would almost work harder for everyone else. We'd work for ourselves.
For sure.
Now, there is that part of it that I think is important for all of us to tap into, which is, empty plates don't feed starving children. You can't give what you don't have. You can't pull water out of a dried up well,
Yes.
right? So you do have to pour into your own self, right?
Yeah.
You have to take time to move your body. You have to take time to fill your mind. You have to,
Yes.
in other words, exercising does matter. Like going for a walk does matter. Like getting some time where you can read a book or pour some a podcast, listen to you, like get some of this stuff poured in.
Yeah.
You can't give all day with stuff you don't have.
Absolutely.
But man, I've watched you walk through this the last 2 weeks. By the way, here's one other quick thing I want to share about humans. There's what I call revealing moments. A revealing moment is when people are revealed to you. So if you think about, Jesus had Judas revealed to him,
Yes.
when he was offered the 30 pieces of silver. And, Judas, as you remember, was his very best friend. Julius Caesar had his very best friend in his inner circle revealed to him. They stabbed him 23 times. At stab 22, Brutus walks up. Brutus is his very best friend, and the famous Shakespeare line was "E tu, Brute," which means "you too, Brutus." And then Brutus, stabs him and kills him as well.
Yeah.
So people are revealed to you when there's stress and strife and challenge. People are revealed.
Absolutely.
Now, here's what's also interesting, though, my friends, is people are also revealed for the good. Like, in other words, you realize who your real ride or dies are, like who's like the real ones.
Yeah.
The Navy SEALs, for example, in training will kidnap so you don't think it's fake. You think it's real. They'll kidnap you, put the bag over your head, throw you in the van, the whole thing, and interrogate you and the whole thing. And they're trying to see who's going to crack.
Yeah.
Who's going to turn all their friends over.
Right.
And they'd rather you turn them over in training than on the battlefield, Mm-hmm. So it's this idea that you do get to meet your ride or dies.
Yeah.
And you get to figure out who's with you, who's not with you. And, Moira, it's so interesting. I felt like you were revealed to me when I met you a year ago. Just all that you've been through with the battle with addiction, just all the stuff. I just pouring your soul out, and just being such an inspiration to me and to so many others. And I that was confirmed to me 2.5 weeks ago. Like, I've watched you walk through this behind the scenes, and I've watched your strength. I've watched your focus. Both focus on other people, focus on the in essence, the blessing of it, focus on here's what we're going to do to overcome. Like, it's one thing to get on a podcast and talk about all this stuff. It's a whole separate thing. My friends, just imagine today you lose everything, right? You lose your entire business. So for me, I was like, man, do I even believe all this? Like, life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Like, I had to ask myself, like, the honest question of, like, are those just cliches?
Right.
Or is that real life? Mm-hmm. And I ultimately chose to say, no, it's real life. Like, I'm going to use this as a blessing.
Yeah.
You and I have a mutual friend named Tiffany Peterson. She calls me one morning. This is right when it was all happening. It was just a super painful morning. It was one of those mornings where, I don't know, it just was hitting you. It was your yesterday. It was it was a day just like yesterday for you. She goes, hey, you've been on my heart today. She goes, how you doing? And I said to her, I'm doing great. And what I should have said is, I'm not doing so good. I wanted to burst into tears. And
she would be a good one to cry too.
Yeah, she goes, I got a word for you. She goes, I've been thinking a lot about you. I got a word for you. And I said, okay, what's up? She said, trust the redirect.
Yeah.
She said, trust that God's in the details of your life and he's redirecting you right now for good.
Yeah.
And if you've ever ridden a horse, right? You have a bit in its mouth and the path is kind of going to the left and the horse is staying on the path, but you know where they're supposed to go, which is to the right. So you kind of gently tug to the right.
Yeah.
And the horse sometimes would almost pull against you, be like, no, I want to keep on the path. Like, that's the path. The path's over here. But you as the rider know, like, no, where we're supposed to go is to the right. And there's many reasons why. And man, what if God is gently redirecting your life, saying, no, I know the path you've been on, and it's been a great path. It's well worn. But the path where you're supposed to go is over here. All the happiness, all the passion, all the joy, all the service, all the abundance is actually down this path. It's the one that's not so well worn. And so you're being redirected where you look back in a month, in a year, in 10 years and say, it's like Steve Jobs says at the famous convention speech of Stanford. He said, you cannot connect the dots of your life looking forward. You can only connect the dots of your life looking backwards.
Yeah.
And so when you look back, you see that you were actually directed down the right
Yes.
path. Where forward, you're kind of like, I don't, where are we headed? So trust the redirect, my friends. Trust that this is all happening for you.
Trust the redirect. I want to get into the business we're launching, but I have to just tack onto this because it's like, I always say, you have all these great like isms that you talk about and share, like trust the redirect and all these things. But I always say inquire to rewire. Like I love neuroplasticity and like locking things in and wiring up your brain. But I believe you have to inquire, right? You have to ask yourself the right questions. You have to be expectant, like we were talking about it. But there's so many instances like, and Tiff, I love that you just brought up our friend Tiffany because she was such a, I make this like wild leap of faith that I'm like, okay, we're doing this thing, Justin. And, kind of every once in a while I'd be like, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. And then I'm like, just trust the redirect. I'm just going where I'm called. I always say, listen to the whisper. So I'm just going with that direction that I feel pulled in intuitively, right? And it was a few days into it, and I was talking about something on my Instagram story, and I just said your first name. And Tiffany pops into my inbox, one of my best friends, and she says, Prince? Oh my God, girl, you're in great hands. And I'm like, wait, you know this guy? And she's like, yeah, I've worked with him for decades, And so you start to see those little pieces, if you're looking for it, where you're like affirmed, right? You're affirmed in your direction. You're affirmed in your decisions. But I believe that we have to look through the right pair of glasses to see that, to stay on the path, right? Because we can start walking down the path and then fear grabs a hold and off we go. And so I want to share that. And, what you shared about people being revealed, man, I've had so many personal life experiences with, dear, dear, dear friends. And then I can remember something tragic kind of happening and like, just a complete 180 of personality that destroyed me because it was so hurtful. But I can remember in those moments thinking, wait, it's just been an easy friendship up until this point. Like it's very easy to talk a good game. It's very easy to say you're loyal. It's very easy to say you're honest. It's very easy to say all this stuff, but you really don't see character until it's truly tested. And then something funny I was thinking about, this is actually totally personal, but hilarious. So you guys will get a kick out of this, but it's this thing about character being revealed. Dying laughing with this visual. So my husband's getting like Christmas ornaments out of the attic. And, there's a box that weighs like 800 pounds. It's like 8 feet long. And he's trying to like tip it down. He's at the very top. And all of a sudden, here comes the box on top of him. Here he comes. And I literally throw my body between him and the wall. But I'm like, I remember thinking like, wow. My instinct was not to get out of the way.
To move, yeah.
My instinct was to protect, my gut instinct in that moment, right? And that's what we're talking about. It's those moments where you see people's character. And I remember him being like, well, thanks for that. And that says a lot about you, but it does. And so I want to jump forward because I know everybody listening is like, can we please get to the business part? Like, what is this business? We hear all this stuff. We also hear good and bad. I think anytime we launch something big, possibly threatening into the world, something where people are going to step into massive opportunity, I believe massive success. Sometimes people come out to try to tear that down before it's even built. You and I are stronger than that, as are the people that we've linked arms with. But before we go there, can we talk about how you stepped into this idea of building this new business called Make Wellness and what it is?
Yeah, so when that happened to me a year ago, you ask yourself what do I want to do with the rest of my life questions, right? And it's so interesting. I was going to do very similar to what you, kind of where your head went is where my head went. I was just going to double down on coaching, speaking, just that whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like our country has a leadership crisis. I feel like we're the country, and there's an underneath chaos. 60% of our workforce says they're living, paycheck to paycheck. U.S. Attorney General said that we have an epidemic of loneliness. There's just this underlying kind of chaos, right? And as I looked at my sales channel had a chaos as well. It's been a kind of a declining sales channel.
And we're talking network marketing.
In the direct sales, direct sales, network marketing world. And I just felt like it needed a new leader, it needed a new bright shining light on the hill to lead the next generation of where this whole thing's going. And so for me, I thought, one of the beautiful things about direct sales is you build these amazing communities of people, like these huge, massive families or networks of people.
Yeah.
And I thought I could go out and do the coaching, speaking, and I feel like I could add a ton of value, or I could go build a massive, massive community, pour into all of their lives, help them to be the one they were born to be, see if I can help them to be the best version of themselves. And in the process, I can help them strengthen their homes. Because it's like when your heart gets turned on, right? It's like if we really help a mom be just this woman becomes the best version of herself. She just is fired up about her life. That affects that home, right? Same thing for dad. So we start helping people strengthen their homes and get the house in order. And if we do that properly, then we start building the next generation of leaders in these local communities. So next generation of your school teachers and firefighters and police officers and people that are running the churches and the charities. And you start making this big impact in the local communities. That's ultimately how we strengthen our country, and then ultimately how we strengthen the world. So I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to build a big community. So then the next question is, well, what product are you going to do?
Yeah.
'Cause I've kind of been in the health and wellness space my whole life. And the truth is, Moira, it's not easy to find what I would call blue ocean products in the wellness space. It's just not easy. There's
absolutely
everything's
blue
sort of
ocean,
kind of already done.
Just so they understand, blue ocean meaning there aren't a ton of other fish in the sea.
There's just not a lot of other competitors. So there's a great book called Blue Ocean Strategies. It's one of the best marketing books ever written. And basically what it says is when you get into I'll give you guys an example. Cirque du Soleil was a blue ocean strategy. There's a lot of circuses. And then they created this unique thing called Cirque du Soleil and literally just owned the marketplace. The iPhone created a blue ocean, right? It was just no one had ever combined, an internet connected device with a phone with music before. And then when that happened, it just was its own thing. When you're in a red ocean is symbolic of red ink. So what happens is there's so much competition in a space or in a sector that it becomes the red ocean is red, like red ink. It's like price cut, because you try and compete on price versus, you're not unique. So it's like a commodity. And so it's just like a race to the bottom of price. It's just where you do not want to be in any business, let alone direct sales. And so as I was we looked at a bunch of products, and by the way, awesome, interesting products, cool products, good products, but nothing that was like, dude, this could like change the face of wellness kind of stuff. It was just interesting. It was just kind of whatever. It was kind of like my multivitamin's better than yours kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so finally, I said to one of my partners, is a gentleman named Truman Hunt. Truman, for 21 years, was with a company called Nu Skin. Nu Skin, for those of you that don't know that name, they're a publicly traded, multi-billion-dollar direct sales company. He took them as a CEO for 14 years, from $700 million to $3.2 billion. He had 80 PhDs on staff. They're kind of a gold standard direct sales company. So we're talking, and I said, "Have you ever heard of peptides?" Because I'd been introduced to peptides that are through injection. They're what's called therapeutic peptides. Right. Therapeutics are what most of you that have heard of peptides. This is what they are. They're chemical compounds that are compounded in a pharmacy or in a lab, and then most of them you have to use through like a little insulin needle.
Yeah, and these are the like Ozempics of the world.
Like an Ozempic, Ozempic's a therapeutic, right? That's one that pharma built, and they're changing. I mean, using Ozempic specifically. I mean, the adoption has been literally unbelievable. Just literally unbelievable. Ozempic, semaglutide, Mounjaro, tirzepatide, etc. So I said to him, "Have you ever heard of peptides?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "In Nu Skin, we had some in our beauty products, whatever." So long story short, the guy's, no kidding, he's the smartest guy in the world. Like, the guy's so smart. So he comes back about 24 hours later. He can like consume all this information, and then he like understands it. Like, I feel like I have to read the book 10 times to get what they just said. He just is like knows it all, So he calls back and he says, I said, "Did you look into peptides?" He goes, "I did." He goes, "I'm a little ticked off." And I go, "Why is that?" He goes, he's the most peaceful guy in the world. And he said, "Well, because I had 80 PhDs on staff. We sold tens of billions of dollars in nutritional products and beauty products." And he said, none of them worked as well as these things. He goes, "This is unbelievable." He goes, "This research is literally unbelievable." Now, the challenge was these synthetic chemical compounds, they're done with, you have needles. I was just like, I was trying to think, how do we scale that business and make it, awesome? And honestly, I was like, this is the worst business ever, as we have huge scale.
Yeah.
And so we just kept kind of digging and doing research, and we ended up finding some of these research labs. So check this out, Moira. These are labs that are using artificial intelligence data platforms to identify and isolate and do human clinicals with peptides from nature. And so instead of it coming from a lab, it's coming from nature. And instead of you having to use a needle, you could actually run it through like a nutritional supplement, but you could run it through the gut. And they had all these human clinicals. It was really compelling data. I mean, one of the companies, to give you an idea, has been at this for just under 10 years, the research, and has just under $100 million of venture capital money invested in their lab on this research. So big money is being put at it with some really wise VC folks. These are folks that are not amateurs. And it was funny, we sat down with them, and some of their, executive scientists said to us, they go, yeah, we got this really sexy story. We're just not that great at telling the story. And we're kind of like, guys, this is what we do, Yeah. And one of them said to Truman, they said, yeah, it's like $100 million problem that we're not that great at telling our story. And Truman goes, no, guys, it's a multi-billion-dollar problem.
Yes.
He said, we will go spend billions of dollars in advertising. And the way that we spend it is through people. People are telling this story. They're educating the marketplace. 25 years ago, New Skin educated the marketplace and commercialized and mainstream antioxidants. They were the first to tell the antioxidant story. 25 years ago, no one knew what that was. Today, we all know what that is. If someone says, have you ever heard of an antioxidant? We'd be like, come on, dude, of course.
Yeah.
The doTERRAs and the Young Livings of the world, 15 or so years ago, commercialized and mainstreamed and brought to the marketplace and told the story of essential oils and did tens of billions of dollars in revenue telling that story.
Yep.
We were like, man, we have a platform where we can go do tens of billions of dollars in revenue mainstreaming this bioactive precision peptide story. This is a big story. And so we created, partnerships with these different labs around the world that were doing all this research and started putting the team together. We have just literally a world-class, no kidding, a world-class team on the kind of the corporate side, the co-founding team. But I'll share this with you. I'm the number one investor in the company. I'm the number one shareholder in the company. And I share that with you to say it was really important for me I didn't want to go work for Big Brother again or Big Sister again and have people looking over your shoulder and telling you what to do, because in other words, I'm saying to guys, the vision is we're going to go this way, and then Big Brother comes in, equity firm or whoever, and says, no, we're actually going this way, and cut this, cut that. To me, I wanted to be able to protect these families, these people that want to come do this with us and say, I'm that they're trusting to put in their credibility and their work ethic. I wanted to be able to be in a situation to protect them, and so as we've rolled this out, it's just one of those things. You're like not sure how it's going to go for sure. Like, is anyone going to be interested? Like, will someone?
I'd say it's gone pretty well.
Will your mom buy from you? And we started a pre-enrollment in August of 24, August 1st, and man, in just over 2 months, we pre-enrolled over 55,000 people. We started a pre-order about 2 days ago. And we've pre-sold. People are putting in their card to pre-sell millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of inventory. And it's been interesting. We're now thinking this first 2 months of the year will do more revenue than we thought we would do the first year on our aggressive projections. So in other words, you're kind of like non-aggressive, like moderate, and then aggressive. It's crazy. Just spectacular what's happening. It's like an idea whose time has come. It's people are seeing what's happening in the bioactive precision they're seeing what's happening in the peptide world, and it's leading them right to the bioactive.
Right.
They're
because
seeing
they're
what's
scared.
happening. Yes. They're seeing what's happening in the, we have this modern affiliate model. So they're seeing what's happening where, you need the next generation of where direct sales is headed. And then ultimately you have the right people behind it. And I just think that combination is just so dynamic,
Yeah, I could not agree more. You said, sometimes it takes a whole lifetime to look back and connect the dots. But like, I've already looked back and I'm like, this is insane, because every single time I get in a very aggressive, not me, I'm not the aggressive one, conversation about the Ozempics and Wegovy. I mean, because I've been in the fitness and nutrition space for 20 some years. And people are very, in my world, against it for the most part, right? And so they get very opinionated about it. And I always just say, in every conversation, I've always said, I totally agree for the most part. But I will also say that this is only second to the smartphone in our lifetime. Meaning this is the only thing I believe, the world of peptides, that we are going to see in our generation, in our lifetime, only second to the smartphone, that's going to literally be that big, meaning everyone's going to be on them in one way, form, shape, whatever. And so many people didn't have the option until now to do a natural form of it. And so, I mean, this is something that I believe in wholeheartedly. I know where the industry's going. It's something I'm so passionate about. And I'm like, this is insane that all of this just transpired in my life. And now I get to hop on board and do this with you. I got to touch on this real quick, and we're just going to run down a bullet list, because I'm also the one that has said, like many people, I personally, and just personal, I support anybody else in a network marketing business, but I personally don't want to do traditional network marketing for the rest of my life. I just won't. There's a lot of parts to it that I just can't do anymore. I just feel like God's kind of called me to do a lot of other things with my time. I feel like sometimes the ranks and the systems, and it's just, there's a little bit of a shady business that goes with it.
It's the schematic part.
Yes.
It feels like you have to like make sure that everything's like all the ranks are right and all the percentages are right, whatever. So it feels schematic to people. They're kind of like,
it feels like a little gamified,
a little bit
in not a great
game,
way,
for sure. Yep.
Yeah, so people are asking me, they're like, hey, I thought you weren't going to do this again. I'm like, I'm not. And so there's so many pieces, because it's, again, probably the second most, common question I get is like, well, how is this different?
Yeah.
And will you touch on that? Just kind of
bullet out those. It's a long list, so I'll see if I can just kind of punch down a few of them. So let me give you guys an example. One of the challenges folks have when they think of a direct sales network marketing company is like, all right, how much does it cost to join, right? Like, all right, just let's get into it. So I wanted to build a platform for the modern affiliate, modern networker. So think about it this way. If you want to be an affiliate, an online affiliate for J.Crew, right? How much does J.Crew charge you to be an affiliate?
Yeah,
Zero.
They pay you.
I just think it's so goofy to say, hey, Moira, you want to sell our products? That's awesome. Pay us some money and we'll let you do it. It just feels goofy. So there's no enrollment fee. And then the second thing is, okay, well, how much do I have to buy every single month? Do I have to, how much do I have to consume? And again, the answer is you don't have to buy X amount of blouses from J.Crew to sell J.Crew blouses, right? So you don't have to buy the product. Now we build some features in. So for example, in a normal, this will go back to, how's it different? In a normal affiliate program, you'll get paid about every 2 or 3 months. So in other words, you make a sale today, 2 or 3 months from now, you're being trued up. Mm-hmm. And in ours, anyone that we want people to use our products. Let me share with you why. It's hard to recommend a movie you've never seen or a book you've never read or a restaurant you've never eaten at. Like there's a level of authenticity. Like, listen, I use the products and I freaking love the products. There's a level of authenticity online that comes through when you're being authentic, right? Mm-hmm. So it's almost more of like, how do you incentivize people to do what they should be doing anyway, which is, getting in the best shape of their life and, authentically using what you sell. And so we said anyone that orders our products $100 a month or more on a subscription, we give them 10% off, we give them free shipping, and then also we'll give them what we call hourly pay. So instead of like you get paid 2 or 3 months from now, you're literally like make a sale right now, an hour later you're paid. Make a sale in an hour later you're paid. So the hourly pay is very unique to the affiliate world as well. Then the other thing is, one of the other challenges I think folks have in direct sales is they're kind of like, God, all sounds good. The only challenge is like motivating all these people, like, come on, Bertha, please work. I beg you. Because if she doesn't hit her rank and do all of the things she has to do, then I'm unqualified to do all my stuff.
The pressure, the pressure cooker.
The pressure. And particularly, Moira, you can do it because you're you, but it's hard to get Bertha to move. And like, oh, you got this. Make it happen, And so one of the beautiful things about our plan, the front end of what we do is what I would call a one-level affiliate plan. Mm-hmm. And so it's all within your own control. It's one level affiliate. It's super, super simple. It's the kind of thing on a plane you would say to someone like, how do I make money? You could show them in 10 seconds how to do it. Yeah. I also wanted to build answers to the questions, how do I make $500 a month? How do I make $1,500 a month? $1,500 would be $18,000 in a year, right? Mm-hmm. How do I make $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month? Because those to me are kind of those things of like, if we can help a typical American family helping make an extra $500 a month, $500 a month, $6,000 a year, right? If you can make them $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year, they're making, $50,000. Now they're making almost $75,000 in a year. It's a big deal. Or if you could help them make, an extra $36,000, it's just the economic impact you could have in a family's situation is so dramatic. And so we created very, very simple, what I call do this, get that ways to teach. So for example, do this, get that means Instead of saying, okay, you get 4% on level 3 or 9% on your left leg, or, all these kind of weird isms that we do in direct sales, you just say, hey, listen, you sell this much, they sell this much, you make this. It's just like, do this, get this, do this, get this. Anyway, so that's
simple.
another example. I'll give you one other quick one. It's a huge one. Is in direct sales, we have a lot of acronyms. Like we say things like CV and QV and PV and these different kind of
it's a whole
weird things.
Different language.
Whole different language. It's like I tell people, I tease networkers, I say, we're standing in the hotel lobby and we say to a friend, man, I lost my leg. And the workers are like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And you're like, oh dude, it happens all the time. Don't even worry about it. It's like we speak English and we speak network marketing,
Yeah, totally.
And so, in a normal network marketing company, you sell $100 of product and your commissions are based on probably 70 or 60 points of the 100. Mm-hmm. It'd be like if you sold $100 J. Crew jeans, affiliates are used to being paid on $100 worth of J. Crew jeans, right?
Right.
So with ours, it's just all dollar for dollar. You sell $100, your commissions are based on the $100. Mm-hmm. So you don't go through that conversion process where you take my dollar and turn it into tokens like at an arcade and I can't spend them at 7-Eleven. Like you just get rid of a lot of the goofy stuff, right? Yeah. Now, with that said, let me say this. The power of direct sales and the magic and the beauty of it, and even if someone's maybe has an aversion to it, I think they still would agree this is the beautiful thing about it. Number one is it is an incredibly efficient model to tell a new story. Mm-hmm. You can't stick that stuff on the shelf and have someone know what it is, or even try and run huge big ad campaigns behind pay-per-click or on Google, et cetera. Like you can do it so much more simplistically if you have humans tell the story,
Yeah.
It's just such a powerful model to bring new ideas to the world. So that's number one. And then number two is it is a powerful model to be able to affect positive culture within a community, right? Where you can teach leadership principles and values, and you can really help someone to be the best version of themselves, regardless of how much money they make or don't make. They're better because they came. Their life is richer. They're being poured into. It's funny. Like Moira, you and I have both charged tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for private coaching.
Yeah.
And we pour into these people for free, dude. Like we pour into their life stuff that, normally it costs you a fortune to be part of like private masterminds and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And so it's just really dynamic. You get really world-class training.
Yeah.
From people that are world-class trainers that have really done it in real life. This isn't theory.
Yeah.
That pour into you for free. It's a very special model that way.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, there's so many magical parts of it. And then, previously for me, there were kind of those hang-ups that really made me struggle and, kind of like, do I want to give up all the good because I can't do these things anymore? And you've created something that is literally all the good and taken all the hard things, all the things that people just, complain about. You've taken that out of it. So I am so excited. I'm so excited where we're going with this. I can't even, I keep saying, I don't even think we know where this is going. I think it's going to be bigger than we could imagine. Nobody better to be doing it with than you and all the incredible humans that are joining us on this journey. So I'm going to do this for our listeners. I'm going to link everything in the show notes because I know there's a lot that we didn't even get into, like what in the world is a peptide? Like, can you explain some of these products? Like, I'm just going to give it all to you guys in the show notes so you can dig deep and get all your questions answered. You'll be able to reach out to me or Justin or whoever you want to. But Justin, thank you again for your time. I know this is literally launch week. It's like the craziest week of your life, and you are just always available. So thank you for that.
Listen, I love you. I honor you, respect you a ton. I think the world of you, hold you in the highest esteem. And I'm so honored to be able to partner with you. And I'm so excited to go write an incredible comeback story with you and I together, but most importantly, the story we can go help other families write, where they can really go build the life that they dreamed and hoped that they could build. Absolutely.
One of my favorite one of the things that I'm quoted on the most is saying on stage, when you change a mama, you change a family.
Oh, amen.
And one of the coolest things about this is, husbands and dads are on board like fully, and it's not just a female dominant industry. And so I'm so excited to create all that change in both the fathers and the mothers and therefore their children's lives, because that's what we get to do with this. So Justin, thank you again so much.
Love you. I'm proud of you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining, you guys. Share this episode with your friends, tag us in your stories, and we will see you next week.